Greetings for the day, students. In today's lecture, we will make a discussion on organizational process for innovation management. In last lecture, we made a discussion about the different theories and the different models for innovation to be carried out within the organization. Today's session even will talk about how the organizational process has to be framed in such a way that it helps to manage the innovation within the firm, which is our objective and agenda even for studying this particular subject, how we can have and we can handle the innovations to be happen within the existing institution and how it can be benefited the company in the upcoming years or we can say the future, because without including the innovation and without giving the chance to the innovation to be happen, we cannot survive and sustain in the long run in this competitive business world. So this is a critical and we can say the lengthiest process of how organizational process of innovation will happen. So please take more understanding and take more precautions while understanding and reading this particular topic. Have more concentration onto it, and that's how you will be unable to synchronize each and every steps which are being taught over here. So the first one, the organizational process for innovation management starts with the market learning. See, this concept taught us the organization is existing, the company is having the products and offering the products into the market, and at the same time, with having the innovation within the firm, how we can be more competitive, and that is what the agenda of understanding organizational process for innovation management. So how we can include the innovation into our day-to-day routine process, or we can say the strategy, that is what the fundamental behind understanding this particular topic. So first of all, to start and to begin with the innovation management within the existing firm, we need to understand, we need to identify the market, how it is moving, how it is changing. At the same time, what are the external and internal factors which are affecting a business at large, or we can say with the highest intensity or the lowest intensity. So market learning enable us to understand two basic and major parameters. The first parameter is the internal environment of a company. The internal environment of a company talks about two things. The first one is what are the different strengths and weaknesses we do have. At the same time, what are the opportunities and the threats we are looking for. So strength and weaknesses talks about the skills, the expertise, the speciality we do have and where we are lacking. That is what the weakness. And opportunities talks about what sort of a situations we are looking for in a future to happen so that we can perform and we can outperform in those situations. At the same time, what are the different threats which are coming in a way to achieve the objective of a company. So that is what the analysis of the internal environment. At the same time, internal environment talks about the internal factors even which are controlled by the company at large and which can be modified and molded by the company themselves. So they are customers, suppliers, managers, stakeholders, and at the same time, the management department. We need to understand how the internal factors are working, how they are moving. At the same time, what are the competitive advantage we are having by this particular managing force, and at the same time, what sort of a changes we should bring so that the maximum benefit of having the managerial staff we can have in future. Market learning talks about the external factors even. External factors are divided into two, the micro and the macro. Micro, that means the industry in which we are working, the competitors who are affecting directly to the business of our, the strategies they are changing, those are directly affecting our business. And the macro factors are within the economy at large, within the country at large, and how they are making an impact on the business, on the industry of our. So in market learning, we are by and large understanding and trying to identify the different factors which are affecting our business in a different way. It can be having the less intensity, it can be having the maximum intensity. And that's how we will be unable to identify how to reciprocate the change according to the market moving, according to the change which are happening, according to the demand and supply which are created by the customers at large, and how the trend and culture is changing and moving. That is what the market learning is. Market learning usually helps us to identify and create the different strategies to provide, to offer the best suitable product to the customer at large. And that is why the market learning is the most crucial part when we are inculcating innovation within the firm. Because whatsoever the new products and the services we are trying to innovate, that has to be suitable to the market. And the suitability usually comes through the understanding of the market. So if we just skip the step of market learning, then definitely innovation can happen, but the innovation cannot be, or we can say may not be, adaptable to the market at large. It won't have the competitiveness. And without the competitiveness, without the adaptability, if the innovation is offered and if the innovation is going to the market, there are the highest chances that the efforts, the money, the time which we have invested behind the innovation, that can goes to the negative way, or we can say that incurs the losses for us. So we need to precisely, curiously, and continuously learn the market, how it is changing, how the different strategies has been changed, how the change is coming, and how the competitors of our are adapting those changes, how the technology is moving, how the society and cultural factors are changing and moving, how the social norms and conditions are changing. And that's what the mixture and the blend of each and everything will help us to understand how the market is moving and what has to be the future. And according to that, on the basis of that, the strategies of inculcating the innovation within the firm can be made. So the first step is market learning. Moving towards the next step, that is effectively building the business model. Business model comprise of the business plan. Business model comprise of from where the finance will happen, how the marketing will happen, how the human resource you will procure, how the production process will happen, what has to be the targeted audience, how you will be enabling yourself to provide and to supply the expected and demanded number of products and services to the market. At the same time, what are the strategies of creating a fund or bringing the fund to the business? What are the maximum number of conversion that can happen? How the innovation will be entertained and the continuous progression will happen in the business? And at the same time, what has to be the return on investment and what has to be the saturation point? So on the saturation point, how you will diversify your business, or what has to be the exit strategy? That is what the business model talks about. In the last phase of this particular session, I'll show you one video how the business model works and how the business model has to be created and generated. So through the video, you will have more clarity about the business model. But by and large, business model talks about the each and every aspect of creating a business plan. What has to be your revenue strategy? What has to be your total turnover? And what has to be your total profitability after the making an investment or making and taking a chance of having this particular venture? Because out of so many different options, precisely you have selected this particular business to be happen, and why this business. So that has to be, and there has to be the reason, and the reason is how effective your business is, how progressive your business is, what are the opportunities which are related with the particular business. At the same time, what are the chances that till what extent you can excel your business and you can expand your business. So that is what creating a business model usually talks about the each and everything from the starting to the end process, starting from objective vision mission of a company, or we can say as an entrepreneur, it starts with the objective, it starts with the strategy, it has to have the marketing plan, it has to have the production plan, it has to have the HR human resource plan, and the financial backup and the financial capabilities how to be encouraged and enhanced. At the same time, what has to be the product and offering, how to add the product mix and product lines into it. At the same time, how to make it to the commercialized level and the next level, and what has to be the different options that can be offered in the future, what has to be the return on investment after 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, and that has to have the diversification strategy in the future even, and the exit plan even, at what point you need to shut the business, you need to have the different business, or you need to enter into the different strategy, or we can say the industry. So that is what the business model talks about. So once you are having the market learning, then you should definitely create the business model which can be workable, which is adaptable, and which can be easily understood by each and every stakeholder of us. So investors can easily identify and understand by having the innovation what you want to bring and what change you want to do with the money they are investing, with the efforts they are putting, and what you want to offer to the market, so that it can be attractive, adaptable, and the return on investment can be maximum. So that is what the business model talks about. Then definitely by having the innovation within the firm, we need to create a cause, not a business. Definitely, the business and creating a business was an old school thought, which usually have we need to create the product and we need to sell it. That's how we will have a margin. No, you need to create a cause so that your product can be adaptable and people understand that without your product or without buying your product and the services, they will have some kind of a problems, or we can say they will face the problems, and you are bringing the best solution to that. So we need to create the cause. You must have studied the cause and effect relationship. Until and unless you don't create the urge of having the product into the customer's mind, you cannot be succeeded, you cannot attract the consumer, you cannot attract the targeted audience towards buying the product. Let me give you example. What is creating a cause? We need to tell them, we need to communicate them. Without having this product or service, your life is miserable. So that is how we are creating a cause into their mind. Let me say then example. I'm telling you that you need to give an examination, and which will be online, and without having the Gmail account, you cannot give the examination. So first of all, what you people need to do is you all need to have the Google account, the Gmail account. So that is what creating a cause. So if I want to promote my Google or Gmail, right? So I cannot directly say that you all need to have the Gmail, but I need to make a compulsion. And the compulsion is what? You need to have the account. Let me give you a second example. I will create a cause. So in today's lecture, I'll say a few numbers, and those few numbers you need to be remembered. And in examination, I'll ask a quiz like that on 20th of July, which particular number I have mentioned in the in the classes, or we can say the online class, so that I can have the maximum number of attendance. If I'll say that I'll mark the attendance on the basis of views which I'm getting in the video, but that would be the different approach if I'll just mention that, or if I just create a cause. So that is how in business, in innovation, we need to create a cause. How and why people should buy this product, that has to be answered. And the answer comes from creating a cause. Why we should have a portable charger, why we should have the solar system at the home, why we should have the sanitizer to be used. So each and everything require a cause. So without communicating the cause to the public at large, they won't buy your product. So make your product adaptable to the market. We need to communicate them the cause, so that they understands that what solutions the product and the service is offering, and accordingly they will definitely buy your product. They will definitely create the urge to buy your products and services which you are offering. So innovation management, the first three stages are: we have done the market learning, we have made the business model, and we have created a cause, not a business. After that, it comes with the designing an open market for ideas, capital, and talent. So now we are on the path of creating an innovation within the firm. We are having and we are giving a chance to the innovation to happen. So when we are talking about giving a chance to the innovation to be happen within the firm, we need to have the openness towards adoption of different ideas, which can come from anywhere, like your sweeper, your foreman, your marketers, or we can say your managers, your stakeholder, your supplier, your customer. Anyone can give you idea, and that can be commercialized, that can be worked upon, that can be think upon, and accordingly innovation can happen. Accordingly, we need to bring the capital from different sources, and the different sources are, we don't need to rely on the friends and family, or we can say we don't need to rely on the banks. There are the n number of different capital investors who are available, who can have the trust, who can have the faith in our business, and accordingly they can invest. So we need to have the openness towards the capital and the bringing the capital even. And definitely talent. Without that, innovation word is not complete, or we can say incomplete. So the talent can come from any point of time, anywhere, and at any moment. So definitely we need to be open. We need to have the red carpet for the ideas, capital, and talent, which can come from any point of time, any source of moment. Or we can say we need to have the openness to have the three things to be happen, to have the innovation within the firm. At the same time, we need to listen to the new voices. Definitely the younger generation who are coming, who are having the driving seat to the business, and definitely who are escorting a business to the next level. The people should be heard, people should be listened, and we need to have the openness towards adoption of the change which are coming from the new individuals, new generation, and accordingly the new voices has to have the chances to say something, to add something to the news, to the strategies of a company, and accordingly they need to have the proper chance, and the pure chance has to be given to them, so that we can have the new adoption, we can have the new cultural advancement, and we can be more futuristic in terms of having the production process, in terms of offering the products and services. So because they are oriented, they are information oriented, they are socialist, they are having the more emphasis on the social network, they are they are connected through the social media with the different cultures and the methodology and the society rituals. So accordingly, whatsoever they are bringing to the market, whatsoever they are bringing to the suggestions of a company, they are definitely coming to the different portions, they are coming to the different knowledge, and those different knowledge will definitely help us to have the more suitable, more wonderful suggestions to be happen to the business. So that's how we need to listen to the new voices which are coming to us, which are coming and which are happening to the business at large. The next point is the next point is setting unreasonable expectation and stretching the business definition. Definitely we have decided the working area, and we have decided the boundaries of our in which particular region or which particular product with which particular industry we will work with. So that has to be nullified when we are talking about the innovation. We need to have unreasonable expectations from the business to be happen, and definitely with the listening to the new voice, giving them the chance, we can have more unreasonable demand that can be created from the company, from the production process, from the investment which are having, and we need to stretch the business definition and the boundaries even. Let me give you an example. We were thinking that the dress material in the saris can be sold through the physical module only. That is what the retail channel. That is what, without the shop, without touch and feel, we cannot sell the product, and we cannot sell the saris and the kurtis and the apparels. So we need to have the unreasonable expectations. We need to create the unreasonable expectations. Why we should have this limitations? Why we should have the limited targeted audience, and who need to be served with the single location, or we can say the multiple locations? Why we should not have the online appearance, and why we should not have the online cataloging and the online module to sell the product through the m-commerce and the mobile commerce and the e-commerce? So that is what setting the unreasonable expectation. I have expected that my business will expand in a way that the someone who is far away from me geographically, they'll also buy product. They'll also have the glimpse of my product, how it will look and how it will be suitable to them. And accordingly, I need to make myself available and enable that I can reach the product to them with the less effective time and efforts. So that is what the unreasonable expectation I have set it from my business. Now I need to stretch the definition. Previously, the definition for my business was I was dealing in wholesaling. I have made an integration. I have vertically and horizontally made an integration. I'm into the wholesaling. Now I'm into the retailing. So now I'm into the wholesaling, I'm into the retailing, but at the same time, I need to adopt the omni channel even, OMNI. In the next lecture, or maybe next time, we will talk about the omni channel event and give you example for the same event. But I need to have the omni channel, which is a pervasive. Let me cut short the example. The example is I'm into the wholesaling, I'm into the physical retailing, I'm into the online module, and that's how omni-channel is. You are pervasive on all the available factors which are available to you, and that's how you are doing a business. If you talk about buying the products online, yes, your company is there. If you're talking about buying the products from the store, yes, your company is there. If you talk about you are having the bulk buying and bulk order, yes, your company is doing the wholesaling. So that's how what we are doing is we are having the emphasis on each and every different sectors which are available to us, and that's how we are buying the products and we are selling products to the customer at large. So that is what setting an unreasonable expectation and stretching the business definition. Next, we need to build the partnership and the alliance with the stakeholders. Partnership with the customers, partnership with the stakeholders, partnership with the suppliers, and that's how we need to have the strongest alliance so that we will have a continuous supply of raw material, finance. We will have a strongest brand equity and brand image in the mind of customer, and the stability and the sustainability of providing the same product will be there, and that can be catered with the same source of raw material and same source of supply can be happen. At the same time, we need to have the strongest leverage with the channel members, supply chain members even, so that our product gets in a fastest way to the customer of ours, to the targeted audience of ours, and that's how without any hassle our product can be served to them with the minimum efforts and the minimum time. So we need to have the partnership and the alliance with the stakeholders of our. Then we need to lowering the risk by doing the experiments. We should not directly go and jump into the market. We should make an experiments. We should have the acid test and trials of the products and services to be offered to the market. We need to continuously make improvements. We need to continuously take the suggestions while taking and doing the experiments to the market, and that's how the successful product can be made, can be manufactured by us. So experiments has to have the biggest emphasis. Experiments has to be nurtured and catered by each and every one, and accordingly we should lowering the risk. We should have the lower risk of failure of product that can happen in the market, that can happen in the highly volatile market. So if your products directly without experiment goes into the market, and there are the highest chances that the buyers, the customers, the supplier won't like your product, they simply reject your product, and the entire backlog, that is what the losses that you need to incur, that comes to the company. So if we want to lower down those particular risks, so what we should do without commercializing the final product directly without experiment, we should have more number of experiments and feedback while and before making the product available to the market. So that is how we need to have the experiments to minimize the risk which are associated to the product failures and the market. And last but not the least, we need to pay the innovators well. Definitely, the invention has to be appreciated. So the individuals who are bringing the innovation, who are continuously working for innovation to be happen, we need to pay them well. We need to pay a good amount of money to them. And there may be instance, there may be chances, and there may be cases that in a few years, or you can say in the initial phases, we won't have the success from the individual who are working and who are working for the innovations. But definitely on the later part, contradictory, afterwards they will have the wonderful innovations that can sum up, that can cover the entire losses and the investment that you have made. So we need to patiently give the time to the innovations even, and that's how in future we will be the innovative company, we will be the most innovative product offered company, and that's how innovators get the motivation and appreciation even to work with you, to work with the company. So that's how, with the video of give you the example of business model, I'm concluding my session here. In next session, we will make a discussion about the different examples from the entire innovation management process, and then we will move forward towards how to manage the innovation within the company, and that would be the next topic. Thank you for the day. Thank you for today, and please watch the video, example video, and then our session ends. Thank you.
So one of the interesting things about thinking about a startup is how is your company going to be organized? And what we now know is the most efficient way to think about all the pieces, just all the parts, is by a business model. And so the next question is, okay, Steve, you just told me to think about a business model, but what is a business model? What are all the pieces? Well, let's take a look. And a business model is how a company creates value for itself while delivering products or services for its customers. Now, if you think about it, in the old days, we'd think about how to organize a company around functional organizations. We think, no, a company is about its sales department or its engineering department, and you would draw an org chart. But now we're going to draw a very different diagram. We're going to draw a diagram of how to think about all the pieces of a business. And so let's take a look at these 9 boxes. 9 boxes to describe any company from the world's largest to a 2-person startup starting in your parents' garage. Let's take a look at the first piece called the value proposition. The value proposition answers the question, what are you building and for who? The value proposition says, hey, it's not about your idea or product, it's about solving a problem or a need for a customer. That is, what pain are you solving, what gain are you creating, and more importantly, who are your customers? Now, value proposition is a fancy word for what product or service are you building. This is where you normally would list all your features and here's all the speeds and feeds and benefits and whatever, but you're really going to be asking a different question than might have been used to. It's not all about your technology. Your technology is just part of the value proposition. Customers really don't care about your technology. The customers are trying to solve a problem or fulfill a need. By the way, we'll be talking about this through multiple lectures. The difference between a problem and a need is, a problem is, I have an accounting problem, or I want to use a word processor. And those types of products solve problems. But there are other things that human beings do, like I want to be entertained, or I want to have a date. Those are some basic hardwired social needs. Or I want to communicate with my friends, like Facebook or Twitter. Those are needs. Needs are different than problems. And by the way, if you could find products that solve needs, your total available market, as you'll see later, is huge compared to I solve specific problems. So the next thing is, who are my customers? Who are they and why would they buy? And as you'll hear a number of times, your customers do not exist to buy, you exist for them. And what you're going to do by getting out of the building is figuring out all their geographic, social characteristics, demographics, such that you actually could draw and put up a picture of on your wall of who the archetype is or who the persona is of your customer. And it turns out that in most startups, you might have more than one or two or three types of customer archetypes and personas, but you need to understand them in detail. And there is no possible way you could have anything but a hypothesis on day one of who they are. The next is channels. How does your product over here get to your customers over here? And we use distribution channels to do that. Now, what's really interesting is pre-1990s, the only channels to get to a customer was a physical channel. That is, you went to a store, you had salespeople, there was physical distribution. But since the mid-1990s, in the last couple of decades, we now have virtual channels, the web, mobile, cloud. And so distribution channels, the first question you want to ask is, how will I be selling and how will I be distributing my products? Are they through physical channels or are they web mobile? Or given today, almost every physical channel also has a web presence. What is the relationship of how your product gets from your company to the customers? Customer relationships is kind of the fourth piece. And customer relationships has a really interesting interaction with these other three pieces. It basically says, how do I get customers, how do I keep them, and how do I grow them? And just like thinking about distribution channels, these are very different for web mobile than they are for physical channels. But visually, they kind of look like this double-sided funnel. So let's just take a look at quickly a web example. In getting customers, you're going to be worrying about how do I acquire them? That is, how do I get them even to my website? How do I activate them? That is, how do I make them do something? And then later on, we'll see after I got them, how do I keep them around? That is, how do I not lose them through attrition and churn? And then what can I do once I have customers to make them spend more money or use my product even more? And so one of the things we'll be thinking about is how do I get, keep, and grow customers? And just like every other step, you might have hypotheses on day one, but you're only going to figure this out when you're out of the building. The next thing is revenue streams. How do you actually make money from your product and service being sold to customer segments? You know, revenue streams basically ask the question, what value is the customer paying for? And it actually has you think about what's the strategy of how I'm going to capture that value. Is it I'm going to just have a direct sale and it's a transaction based on price? Is it a freemium model where I'm going to give away the product for free and hope that some portion convert later? Is it a license or subscription model? That revenue model is different than the pricing tactics. That is, what is the dollar or pound amount or euro amount that I'm going to be charging? Again, the only way to figure this out is being able to interact with tens or hundreds or thousands of customers till you finally understand what the right revenue stream and revenue model is. The next piece you want to think about is what are the key resources? What do you need to make the business model work? What assets are important? And what's an example of an asset in a key resource? Well, finance. Do you need capital? Do you need a line of credit? Some assets and resources are physical. Do you need physical plant, like a manufacturing line? Do you need specialized machines? Do you need vans and for delivery? Do you need cars? Is there something else you need? Is there intellectual property you need? Is there patents you need to acquire or protect? Do you need to acquire customer lists? Or is it just that you need to get great people, great software programmers in a specific area, or great hardware designers, or great manufacturing people? And then finally, again, the interaction between intellectual and human capital that's another key resource. What specifically do you need to do to keep these people, and who are they? The next piece is, who are your key partners and suppliers? And partnerships are kind of interesting is we need to ask ourselves before what's the deal is what exactly are we acquiring from partners? And also, what activities are they going to perform and when? And this is where startups sometimes make a mistake of thinking, well, large companies do partnerships. I guess I need those too on day one. Turns out the types of partnerships you need in year 1 are certainly not the ones you're going to need in year 3 or 5 or 10. And the types of partnerships could be strategic alliances, joint ventures, just regular suppliers and buyers. And so you need to be thinking through who they are and actually getting out of the building and testing them. Next are key activities. What's the most important things you need to do for the business to make the business model work? Are you in the production business? Are you making something? Or are you in the problem-solving business, like you're doing consulting or engineering? Or are you managing supply chains? What are the key activities you need to become expert at? And then finally, all this adds up on the left-hand side over here to costs. What are the costs and expenses to operate the business model? One of the interesting things about cost is it's not just the obvious ones like people or buildings or materials. What you're really going to be asking are what are the entire costs to operate our business model? And so you want to think about what are the most important costs you need to worry about? What are the most expensive resources you're going to need to pay for? And what key activities are the most expensive? And then you want to ask the typical accounting things, what are fixed costs? What are variable costs? Are there economies of scale? And you want to start getting a good handle on what it is that will end up costing you money to run your business.